It's Wednesday, January 21st. I'm Adam Walsh, and this is The Signal. Today on the show, we are taking the temperature of the local tech industry, and guess what? There are some real hot spots. I've got folks from the industry here to break it all down for you. Florian Villaumé, CEO techNL, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm good, and you? Bonjour à tous.
Bonjour, merci pour venir ici. Give folks the, context-wise, when we talk about, because there's a bunch of things that I've seen over the last, year, just around how the tech industry is doing. Just give people a reminder or an introduction for just how much the local tech sector is worth.
Yeah, so the tech sector is doing very well. The value of the sector is 1.8 billion. And
with a B, yeah.
With a B, a big B. It's the third industry in Newfoundland after energy and mining, and growing. And last year we saw major private capital investment raised. Collab raised 100 millions. Spellbook raised 70 millions. And we also had Kraken raised public funding, 115 million. So there's a lot of momentum. There are also tons of other companies that are growing. You think about companies like Polyunity, you think about companies like Virtual Marine, and they all contribute to the growth of the sector here.
Yeah, I found it really interesting. Here's a piece too. This is from last year, just before around last December, in December, so a month and a bit ago. In deals announced so far this year, Newfoundland and Labrador companies have raised $295.5 million, while those based in the Maritimes have secured $82.2 million. That means Newfoundland and Labrador accounts for about 78% of this year's announced deals as of December 8th of 2025. And companies for the province also accounted for more than half the funding in the region in 2024. And against the Maritimes, right? That sounds really impressive.
Yeah, we are leading the way in Atlantic Canada, but in many ways we are leading the way also nationally. When you look at the size of our population and how much are we delivering in terms of new tech companies and unicorns, I think there's a lot to say of what's happening here.
All right. We've got three other guests. One's on the line, two are here in studio. So what I'll do is I'll go to each person individually for a bit of an introduction, and then we'll hop into a discussion. I also have a bit of a section of an interview to play from this week's This is Newfoundland and Labrador podcast, which is out now. If you follow podcasts after you're done listening to this show and you want more around the tech industry, here's the headline: Why Newfoundland and Labrador's OG tech investor is still big on this sector. And it's a chat with Mark Dobbin, and also Chris Gardner is on the podcast, but he's here as well with us in studio, CSO of Spellbook. How you doing?
I'm great. I can confirm the podcast was great.
Thanks, man.
A little biased, but
yeah,
it was great.
A little biased. Especially that guy in the middle sounded so good. How did you phrase it? I think I have. You told me. You said that you're with the most incredible Newfoundland company folks haven't heard of. Go on.
And to be fair, there's a lot of incredible tech companies, so I want to kind of elaborate on that and say, I think Newfoundland and Labradorians would benefit to pay attention to what's happening in our tech scene. To Florian's point, there's so many companies and so many interesting industries, but we are one of them. So we specifically at Spellbook have created the most comprehensive AI suite for commercial lawyers. So we removed the drudgery from legal work for these lawyers, and we're in 50 countries working with 4,000 legal teams.
4,000 legal teams. How long have you been around?
Well, the AI has really only been commercially available for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So the company is a little older than that, but our product has only been in the market for 3 years.
3 years. And when we talk about all those legal teams, are there any I know I won't know a lot of legal teams, obviously, but any big names that are coming through on stuff for clients? What's your client list like? How can we kind of describe that?
Yeah, and you will know some of them. So all big companies have legal teams. So yes, we work with law firms, which you might not know, although there is some local Newfoundland firms that use our tool. But we work with Dropbox, which you might be familiar with,
Yeah.
or Fender, the guitar company, Crocs, the ungodly footwear people sometimes wear to the mall. They all have legal
lawsuits on
teams.
how those look alone must be gigantic.
So those companies, because all of commerce requires contracts, we're able to work with those legal teams and help them be more efficient.
Wild. Okay. Florian, you're going to say?
I just want to add something, just a small anecdote on Spellbook. I was in a symposium between Germany and Canada a few weeks ago, and I was chatting with someone working in the industry in Germany. And so he asked me, where do you come from? Oh, I come from Newfoundland. I said, oh, is there a tech sector? So I said, yeah, there's a tech sector. And I said, I mentioned a couple of companies, and then I mentioned Spellbook. And the person said, oh, yeah, I'm a lawyer. I know Spellbook. Wow. And when you think about it, it's kind of the impact of they're having. They're becoming a category leader in their field internationally from here.
Yeah, I find that well because I've been in a bunch of places traveling before, and people would have no clue where Newfoundland is. So to say a company from here, Newfoundland and Labrador, and they're like, no, I know that. Even if maybe they don't know where Newfoundland and Labrador is. And I know that's changing in the tech sector and everything else, but I do find that wild.
Yeah, it's
right?
wild.
Nurul Ibrahim is here, founder and CEO of Atlantiq AI. How you doing?
Pretty good. I would like to vouch for Chris again. I've been the biggest Spellbook fanboy for a long time, so it's good to be here.
Thanks for coming in. Tell us about Atlantiq AI.
I would say very similar to what Chris mentioned, right? Remove all the drudgery from the technical work, but except Spellbook does that for the legal staff, and we do it for naval architects and designers in the shipbuilding industry.
And how are things going so far? Because you've been around. How long have you been around again?
It's been a couple of years.
Yeah, a couple of years. And how are things going?
It's pretty good. We started out with the same concept as well, that we want to have these AI knowledge workers who can scale the amount of work that technical people can do. So we explored that in a few industries. Last year, we pivoted into the shipbuilding industry, and it has been really, really good so far, and it's the best time that I've had.
And why? And remind folks why it's such a good time to be into shipbuilding, especially like right now.
Money.
Yeah,
No,
but it's true though. There's billions of dollars being pumped into shipbuilding.
But yeah, even aside from that, like there's just so much potential. There's all these knowledge workers, like who are like senior staff who are gonna retire. Like half of them are gonna disappear in the next 5 years. So there's all this necessity to preserve all their knowledge so that can be spread across the rest of the organization, so that they don't lose the advantage.
Yeah, and like I mean, the big conversation. And again, folks, if you want to go back to the This is Newfoundland and Labrador podcast, we did a full show on defense spending and this time of rearming and spending a lot of money from the Carney government into defense because of everything going on in the world. Just Google the speeches out of Davos, which is ongoing now, if you want another taste of why things are happening this way. But it's a lot of a focus on the North, the Arctic, the Canadian Navy, and ships.
The Arctic's a huge issue because there's all these things that are happening in the Arctic, and we have no idea because we don't have enough vessels out there. And we have to build enough vessels, and we have to build complex enough vessels, but that requires us to design, that requires us to build them, and it takes currently tens of years for us to even do a single one. So that's the problem that we want to solve.
Yeah, everything from patrol ships to icebreakers to submarines to on-personed craft as well under the water. Like there's so much to think about when it comes to the Arctic and the geopolitics right now. We're going to go to the phone line. Josh Howard is on the line, CEO of Vish. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being on the line for the show. Give folks the explainer on Vish.
Yeah, so we're an inventory management system for hair salons. It sounds pretty simple, but we have a Bluetooth scale that interacts with an iPad application, and it gives tools to hairstylists to save money on every application that they're doing, but then it communicates to the front desk and makes sure they're paying the correct price. It's a solution we've had out since 2018, and it's where we started, but that's a huge data collection point for us. And from there, we're now expanding into the supply chain. We're partnered with L'Oreal, which is a very familiar name, obviously.
Yeah,
and,
just slightly, yeah.
Yeah, and we've got a global presence right now. We have offices in the UK, here in St. John's. Well, I'm in Toronto right now, but our headquarters are in St. John's. We have some headcount in Australia, and now we're expanding into the United States with an office in Texas.
Amazing. All right. I want to talk about investment and the importance of investment for the industry. So before I do that, for all of you, what I'll do is I spoke with Mark Dobbin, right? Prominent business leader with Killick Capital. He's also a philanthropist, just named to the Order of Canada. I interviewed him for This is Newfoundland and Labrador's podcast this week. Here's just a section on what he had to say when we were talking about, because this was a tech-focused interview, so it's 5 minutes. Take a listen, folks. Over the years when you've looked at investing locally, what do you look for?
A couple of things. First of all, the management team, the co-founders. They have to be integrity is table stakes. It has to be a business or sector that we understand, because sometimes people bring you ideas and you say, like, I don't understand that, so how can I invest in it because I can't help? And then I think I've said this many times, coachability of the management team is critical. And by coachability, I don't mean they do what they're told. I mean they ingest information and react accordingly.
What's the length of time for an investment where you're like looking at something for it to kind of give a return, or to consider it like that's successful? This is what I wanted to get into.
Oh, that's a very difficult question to answer because it really depends. Yeah. And we have a different playbook here, I think, on the east coast of Canada than they would say in Silicon Valley. So if you look at Silicon Valley, they really want to either have success quickly at a huge scale or fail fast. And that's fine when you're in an ecosystem where a different investment vehicle bus or a different job opportunity bus comes by every day. But in Atlantic Canada, I see these people's parents in the grocery store when I go buy my groceries. And the opportunities are different here. So you don't want the investor to put their risk profile on the investee company. Because, we've got, as I said, 22, 23 companies. They've got one. Yeah. So, I don't like to make it an all or nothing for them. So we tend to, and it's not unique to us, the further away you are from Silicon Valley, generally the rule of thumb is the longer it takes for the investment to mature. And we've certainly seen that.
What do you think this type of investment then has meant to the province over the years? Because if it wasn't there...
Well, the payroll for the tech community now is huge. The average tech sector employee has a larger salary than an oil industry employee, and we're adding hundreds of jobs a year in the broader ecosystem with the tech companies. So we're adding hundreds and hundreds of high-paying jobs that are permanent. They're not tied to a diminishing resource, a depletable resource. And we're getting a critical mass now. You mentioned earlier companies like Spellbook, and then there's Colab, there's Spiral Acoustics, there's Avalon Holographics, there's Hay Worker. There's companies here that are creating huge value. The government has invested in them directly through Polaris Venture Capital. They've done exceedingly well off their investments, the government. They got a lot more money back than they ever anticipated. They've also contributed through IBIC, Innovation Business Investment Corporation, where they put direct, generally non-dilutive capital into the earlier startups. So the government is starting to realize how important the tech sector is. I used to say that, in terms of employment, not necessarily royalties to the government, but in terms of employment, the tech sector is adding a Hibernia a year. I'd just like to see the ecosystem continue to develop. And you consider we have one teaching university, with a hospital. There's only 500,000 people on the island, plus another 50-odd in Labrador. And the level of tech innovation and value creation is quite literally mind-blowing. And we spent a lot of time thinking about that and talking to the participants, the entrepreneurs, the other support systems within the province. And I think, it's good old Newfoundland ingenuity. We're at the end of the supply chain and have been for centuries. So, when you're, take the name Killick. You couldn't afford to put iron in the water and have the ice take your boy away, so you made a killick. If something broke out around the bay or even in St. John's, you fixed it. You found a way to fix it because you had to. You had no choice. So I think that ingenuity, that creativity is translating itself to innovation in the tech sector. And we have a fairly high level of immigrant founders as well within our tech sector. And I think, if you're an immigrant, you're already self-selecting yourself to be a risk taker. And so those two things, but the secret sauce, I think, is our tech sector supports each other. They're very tight-knit, and they cheer each other's successes and help each other along the way.
My conversation with Mark Dobbin a week and a half ago, I think. I went to his office in downtown St. John's. There's 2 sections of an interview that we did. I'll go to Josh Howard, CEO of Vish, on the line first. Anything stand out to you, for what Mark Dobbin was talking about there, Josh? Anything stand out to you for your experience with Vish and getting things up and running and everything else?
Well, the part about fundraising definitely resonated. The further you move away from Silicon Valley, it's harder to raise these quick, big rounds on the hopes of something, to make one of these unicorns. So we raised a small seed round in Toronto, and that was at the time of the pandemic, and trying to raise capital was really challenging for us. And then eventually moved back to Newfoundland and started creating some jobs locally, and then spoke with the province, and the province ended up helping us along and giving us some funding through NRC, IET, and ACOA. And it was very meaningful for us and enabled us to grow at a pretty solid rate for the past 5 years. And it's a bit challenging for sure when you're dealing with government and all of the applications and meeting with these people, but they've been super supportive. The province has been super supportive, and non-dilutive funding, everybody that when they spoke about tech companies in Newfoundland, we often get overlooked because we don't raise capital. We grow the company with profit and with government support. So we have 31 full-time staff downtown St. John's, all in office, and the VC route is definitely a way to get there faster, but it's a lot more difficult. And us sort of bootstrapping and doing it has put us in a position where now we don't need capital from VCs. We don't need to rely on American investment. We can keep the jobs in St. John's and continue to grow there. Amazing. So I think it certainly resonated with me, a lot of the things that he just said then.
All right, what are the guys in the room? Any thoughts on what you're hearing?
Being a bootstrap founder, I completely agree with Josh here. We just last year we have probably received almost $500,000 from government grants funds, which has kept our business running. And it lets us innovate at a much rapid pace. It motivates us. It keeps us just hold our control over the companies and lead it in the way that we envision it. So I think it's a huge opportunity that is definitely overlooked in a lot of places, but that also means that creates more opportunities to later then go raise venture capital with much more leverage. And that also creates a very unique opportunity for us because we can have that leverage because we can bootstrap our way into this profitability, what Josh is mentioning.
Yeah, Chris, what about yourself?
And there's a million different ways to build a business, and there's no one right answer. I'd say a strong tech ecosystem has a plurality of funding available, including government sources and non-dilutive. Funds like Mark's at Killick, as well as Polaris Venture Capital, are absolutely essential for high growth stage. Companies like ours have to get ahead of growth, so we don't have the luxury necessarily of growing purely from profits. We have to raise that risk capital higher ahead of revenue and hope we grow into it. And again, there's no right answer, but I'm a very strong proponent of a healthy ecosystem is going to have venture capital, government funding, and strong association support from folks like techNL as well.
Yeah, and tell folks about the year you guys had last year. It was 300% profit, right?
Growth
or whatever I should say.
In revenue,
Growth in
so
revenue.
we ended the year at about 30 million USD, so much more in CAD, which is excellent, up 300+%. And we're looking to do that again this year. And that is only going to be possible because we were able to bring on some high growth investments from folks like Coachla Ventures and Innovia, another Canadian firm. But we've gotten to that stage, so we call that stage, Series A, Series B. But we're only ever able to get to there because of the early funding sources from Atlantiq and Polaris as well.
Tell folks what Polaris is.
Polaris is the first real pure venture capital fund created in Newfoundland and Labrador. We're thankful for. We have folks like Mark's fund, which is primarily like private equity taking risk.
Yeah.
But venture capital is an ability to take funds from different sources. One of their sources was GovNL. So like I commend GovNL from 2014 when they originally committed to the fund creating it, as well as private sources and other entities like BDC. So they've all kind of pooled their money, and it's managed through Polaris Venture Capital, which that organization then searches out these seed stage ideas. Yeah. And they take the risk and they do all the legwork necessary, because it's not easy. Like the work that Mark does, he has a team as well at Killick to develop those relationships, evaluate the opportunities, take those bets. It's a lot. And any one investor isn't necessarily able to find all these different opportunities. So you do it through a venture capital arm. And in this case, Polaris Venture Capital has been critical to funding a lot of the growth we've seen in the ecosystem.
Yeah, and like was mentioned, for Polaris, for the provincial government, their investment, their money that they put, they got that back and then some, right?
Well, and that's what Mark said in the interview. The government's not used to getting a return on its investment.
Yeah, you're like, what do you mean we get a return on this thing? I thought we just put the money out. The money's coming back in the door.
What do we do with it now? And so we're thankful that they've used that success to actually get additional investment. And I think we're supportive that multiple governments, including the most recently formed government, are supportive of Polaris. And I think that is one of the necessary levers. If we think about what the ecosystem needs, that is one of the necessary ones to keep it growing.
Yeah. And Florian, for your conversations then, just to build on what we're talking about here, the government understands this, right? Like they do understand that, hey, that money went out and came in and, the profit was there to look at like the health and the down the road for the success of what is coming with the ecosystem and the industry.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they see the return in terms of return on investment, in terms of capital, the capital they get back, but they also see the return on investment in terms of number of companies and GDP growth and jobs created. So I think when we have conversation with governments and showing those data are very important. When you think about for people who are new to kind of tech ecosystem, like there are a couple of indicators you want to look at for a good tech ecosystem. So you look at the number of new startups, you look at investment, just talk about it, like the growth of SMEs, GDP contribution. But one of the indicator that often is kind of an important indicator in tech ecosystem is the number of unicorns. So we talk about
define a unicorn.
100%. Right? That's what I want to do.
Not imaginary. These are real things.
It's a real thing. It's a $1 billion startup.
Yeah.
So a company valued at over $1 billion. And in the province, the first one was Verafin.
Yeah.
Then we are on track to add 2 more. We also have Kraken that just crossed the bar of 1.4 billion of value through a public fund. And to put so when we share those numbers, they might not mean too much.
Yeah,
until
like,
put them
billion-dollar companies. We're on track for a couple more. Like you said, Verafin was the first, but yeah, you've got something to help put this in perspective.
Yeah, like so I was looking at an interesting comparison with other, like if Newfoundland will be a country and we'll compare ourselves to other countries, we will be second in the world after Estonia in terms of number of billion-dollar companies.
Wow.
So just to put, that would be before Israel, like US and other countries like this. So considering our size and the number of billion-dollar companies we have in the province, this is exceptional.
And which I found out from talking to you yesterday and doing some looking up online this morning. Estonia, small European country, not a lot of natural resources.
Yep.
They just use their knowledge-based economy over the last 15 to 20 years or whatever. They like this push into the tech sector, and they are this leader in Europe. And like you said, it's comparable in size and population and everything else. The only difference is we've got natural resources as well, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
we have those, they don't, and they're doing so well on the tech scene.
Yeah, it's a 1.3 million country.
Yeah,
right. So and the resource-based economy, and they really focus head down on investing in education in STEM. And that's why it's also important that we think about AI and how we're going to educate people on AI. They invested in supporting startups and attracting companies. They have policies to support the growth of companies as well. So they have been very intentional in building that sector, and now it's paying off.
While I have you all here, yesterday on the show, the headline for yesterday's show was, what are the long-term future skills needs for Newfoundland and Labrador? So we had Rhonda Tolgleen, CEO of the Atlantic Chamber of Commerce, Tony Fang, Economics Prof at MUN, Wanda Cuff-Young, VP of Operations, Work Global Canada, Tom Cooper, Business Prof. I enjoy having them in because you're digging into different looks at the economy, at the future, everything else. But for us today with this tech conversation we're having, when you're looking for talent, as you grow your businesses, as you grow your companies, where are you having to look, and are there skills gaps right now for when you are, as you try to expand things? Who has thoughts on that? Josh in line, do you have thoughts before I go back to the studio?
Yeah, it's changed drastically in 3 years for us with AI helping engineers sort of augment and enhance their ability to produce code and produce, quality code has just jumped off the charts. So, 3 years ago, we needed more engineers. We needed just more technical people, but that's certainly shifted. So we need product managers, and they can come from all walks of life. So product people for sure. Marketers are key, like people that interface between technology and humans. We're going like sales, marketing, trying to put a human face to technology is more challenging now. Everybody's getting automated emails and, AI learner videos and all that sort of stuff. And AI has a lot of capabilities for sure. I mean, Spellbook is a massive company and scaling like crazy. But I wonder, how you guys are looking at these things as engineers are less important for scale, and now it's more product sales and marketing. Like we're seeing that on our side, but we also interface with salons. Love to hear from the other companies and how they're looking at their needs.
Chris?
Yeah, fully agree with everything you just said. I think, historically when we've talked about needing skills in tech, we'd say computer science and different engineering, and that has flipped recently. I think that there's also this misconception that you have to be on that technical side to be in tech. I've been in tech my entire career, and I have a business background. The interfacing, like being able to manage humans, close deals.
Imagine.
Yeah, like these personable skills are so important. Being able to rally troops behind a mission and all those types of things are just so important. And I would really encourage anyone listening, if you want a career in tech, don't be dissuaded because you don't have a computer science degree. We are, of the 180 jobs we're going to hire for in the next year, 90 of them are in sales.
So you're hiring 180 more people in the coming year.
2026, yeah.
Right. How many do you have now?
We just passed 130.
Yeah.
And that was up from about 50 in the year before. So we are kind of adding and growing rapidly. But when we look at the skills that we need now for 2026, is we need to work with legal teams, and legal teams want to talk to a human. Yeah. They want a handheld sales process, and anyone can develop those skills. I'm really bullish on what techNL is doing in terms of their sales training program, because it's needed. And to Josh's point, like so many people. Maybe you're doing sales in an adjacent industry. If you want to break into tech, pick up those people and sales skills.
Hear that, salespeople? Dust off those resumes because, there are folks hiring. Nurul, what is the size of how many folks do you have for your company?
We have 5 people.
5 people. And what are I always hesitate when I ask tech companies about future plans because it's like, well, everything can change in 6 months. But if you look 6 months to a year, what are you hoping for? Where are you moving?
So I think with how technology is evolving, we can operate with 5 people like we are 50 people, right? But I think in terms of what Chris mentioned in the business side, people want that human connection, people want that human touch. But on the engineering side, things are rapidly evolving where you can get so much done, but then the bottleneck becomes the business side, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is where deep domain expertise and like business experts are going to be part of our hiring process more than on the tech side. But even on the tech side, I think some of the skills that people need to adopt is the new way of work, because we just need more thinkers. We need more people with strong leadership, strong vision, and have very strong opinions, because you have to be the kind of guide and you have to manage these AI agents. That's just the new way of work, right? People don't write code anymore. So when that's the thing, deep domain expertise becomes the leverage, because you know where you're headed, you know what to build, and you just go there, and the AI just helps you go there. The technology helps you go there.
Yeah, use it as a tool, but you need to know where you're driving the car.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're training folks for this, right? For techNL, Florian?
Yes,
Tell us about
100%.
that.
I mean, it's part of the role of techNL. We see company growing, we chat with them, we identify the needs, and when we see multiple companies saying the same thing, we say, well, we have to do something about it. And I think with the AI advancement of AI, that was one of the needs we heard. Sales also very important, as we just heard. So we put together a training. It's a workshop of 24 hours. Over February and March. Applications are open right now. And so we have 2 sets. We have more like the technical side, so more cybersecurity and data for people who have some familiarity with software developments. That's a way to upskill on AI, on skills that are in demand. So the instructors are working right now in those roles that are needed. So they know exactly what's needed in the industry. We follow the same principle with sales. So there's big demand on the sales, as we heard. And this training will be also taught by people who are in sales. And we work with companies like Spellbook and Colab and Nasdaq Verafin and Vision 33 to identify what do they need. And the goal is to provide that opportunity, especially for someone who's good in sales, and in another industry, as mentioned by Chris, and they just want to have a bridge training for the tech industries. And as you heard, there are opportunities. This is a great opportunity, and we encourage them to check our website and apply if they're interested.
How hard is it to keep your fingers on the pulse of everything that's changing in your industry? Because just like Nurul, what you just said about a bit of not code. Not coding anymore and wanting folks, in a different side of things. You look at AI, how it changes and keeps changing, and we don't know where things are going to go with it. Like a couple of years ago when I was doing tech shows, we were talking a lot about code. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, actually, it's still there, but not necessarily. How tough is it to keep your fingers on the pulse of this?
The Twitter algorithm helps me. That's what my team tells me, that my Twitter algorithm just gives me all the good things. Yeah. But I think being a nerd really helps. Just wanting to know the best and having the wanting to be at the edge of technology. It is very difficult though, because technology is evolving at a rapid pace. So I think it is important for people to be up to speed on things, because they will kind of have to then play the catch-up game, and other people will just move so much further ahead. That the gap will be too hard to reduce.
I picture like a train. So if you're on the train, you're moving with the train, you're keeping up with the train. The minute you step off the train leaves you, and you are stranded, and you're not getting back on that train. Like, Chris, what are your thoughts?
Great analogy, except I would add it's one of these Japanese high-speed trains.
Exactly.
So.
Gone. Gone.
Got to get on.
Yeah.
And I get asked this question a lot. And my advice is exactly what you just said, Adam. For anybody out there who is curious about how AI might impact their industry, none of us can tell you other than it's going to change. And the best thing you can do, even if you don't have the option of using it at work, which I would encourage you to talk to your management or whomever to try and get access, use it personally. Use it in your personal life. begin to understand how different a technology it is. And I've seen, this is the advice I've given my parents, who I run official tech support for, as many of us do.
Yeah, I think your phone was just ringing there.
Yeah,
There's your folks on the line.
Yeah, reset their password. But, my family has gone, my mother has gone from being unable to use an iPad a few years ago to now she just planned an entire European vacation with the assistance of ChatGPT.
Right.
Entire thing, like a complicated one too. And it was a very proud moment for me. And I think this technology does have the ability to help non-technical people be technical.
Yeah.
We talk now about 10x coders, and what we mean by that is a really skilled engineer can be 10 times more valuable than they were a few years ago, because now you have a supercomputer that helps you do your job. As an executive, I use AI now daily. If I'm thinking about a challenge and I just want to bounce it off somebody, I have the equivalent of a PhD in my pocket, right? That I can talk to and do things with and ask questions and challenge me. And everyone in every industry, there's going to be an impact. And the best thing to do, to your point, Adam, is get on the high-speed train.
Yeah. Well, it's a tool. Like if you're, thinking that on the doctor side of things, it's you're effectively, if you can use the scalpel really well, right? Like it is something to be directed for understanding. Is it going to write the next great Canadian novel? No time soon. But can it help you write a novel? And for your understanding of maybe bouncing some ideas and some thoughts around different word choice and this and that scenarios, sure, right? It's there for you for that.
Absolutely.
Josh, what about yourself on your end with Vish?
Yeah, I mean, to Chris's point, the 10x coders. I mean, we have a team of those guys now. We have 8 senior
Right.
full-time engineers with 20 years experience. So now they're really embracing this technology. Especially my co-founder and CTO Ryan Flood. He's just truly incredible, and he's always staying on ahead of the curve when it comes to what he should be implementing throughout the company. I believe speaking of not coming from a technical background, I did a phys ed degree and a master's in kinesiology. So I ended up figured out how to run this whole thing just through mentorship and a good network around me. But we're really thinking about the future, and we think technology is going to become commoditized. Having the best code is not going to win. It's an important factor, and everybody will need to have great software, but branding, placement, sales, customer success, all of those things. We're investing in the future. We're investing in our brand, because I think someone's going to be able to come out and make competitive technology to us at a cheaper rate. So we need to be bigger, in more salons, connected to more different, more platforms. One of our biggest parts of our company is that we integrate with 16 different platforms. So yeah, I guess for me, the future is mostly on building the brand and the business, and the technology. Everybody's just going to have great software.
So Josh, from when you first kind of started and thinking about Vish and the process, what was the initial concept like compared to where you are now? And could you picture where you are now from when you first started?
Yeah, when we first started, it was really trying to solve some simple problems for salons. But now we're looking at, attacking the entire supply chain, and eventually we have a new product coming out that's going to interact with consumers. So if you look at all the major players in our space, they're kind of ubiquitous across industry. So they manage spas and personal training and yoga studios. So we are trying to build a platform that takes a consumer of when they're thinking about getting their hair colored all the way to how those products get delivered. And we've got a lot of the work done, and now it's just been implementing the technology throughout a global marketplace.
Chris, what about with Spellbook? From early thoughts to kind of where things are now, how much of a ride is that for pivoting and changing and trying to understand where the industry's going?
Yeah, it's a story. It's familiar for a lot of companies.
Yeah.
You launch out a product, you think you fully understand the market, and then it hits you in the face. So it's very common for tech companies to get out there. And this is also why seed investment is so important, to be able to get you time in market. Spellbook started as a different type of company when commercially available AI, you couldn't develop on it. And we were trying to solve a similar problem that we thought we understood, but we had very low adoption. And what we, without getting into like a boring story, essentially lawyers, we were actually working out of a law firm, building what the lawyers told us they wanted, built it for them, and they wouldn't use it. And what we found out is what they didn't tell us is they didn't want to do any of the prep work. They basically wanted it to work out of the box. They didn't want to do any setup.
No.
And knowing that, we're like, okay, they clearly have a need. They don't want to do any setup. When AI became available for us to develop on, literally we were the first product to market that had AI integrated into it, which made our product what we kind of joke is batteries included, meaning they could literally start using it today. AI did the setup. AI makes it usable on day one, and that's the point where we accomplished product market fit and started selling to all these law firms. But if we weren't in the market, working on the problem, working on the tech, when kind of opportunity met this very specific moment, Spellbook wouldn't exist today.
So were you were you just waiting for this moment? It's like, oh, we're waiting. Is it coming? Hoping it's like, what was that moment like when it happened, or when you're like, oh my gosh, it's here?
Product market fit is a special thing. That's when your technology really meets a need in the market. Honestly, it was a bit of luck because we ourselves didn't develop the underlying AI infrastructure. No. And thankful to OpenAI, which sort of brought in this current era of AI, because before them, Google was working on this, Microsoft was working on it, but they were being very tepid about releasing it.
Oh, yeah.
OpenAI kind of broke it wide open and was like, we're going to put this out into the world for people to see and use. And quickly after that happened, all the big players raced in and made their AIs available. And now we're seeing Gemini, and we're seeing all kinds of different
Pilot and others.
Copilot, exactly.
Copilots, right?
And that's good. We want the availability of many models that you can then pick and choose which works best for you. But yeah, that moment was it only would have happened if we were there trying to solve a problem when that tech became available.
So like how many days, I'm not looking for an actual number here, but like OpenAI comes out, like is this like a Wednesday afternoon? You're like, oh my gosh, like Eureka, or did it take a week or two, or like what was that process like?
A weekend.
A weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
so, and like full credit to Scott Stevenson, who's a technical engineer and founder of the company. He basically locked himself up and released a product over the course of a weekend. Now, it is very crude compared to what we've since developed. But the idea was speed, and it's what you brought up earlier about how you could now do this. And so we were first in the world to launch this specific type of product for lawyers with AI baked in. That got us early attention from customers and more investors, which then allowed us to refine and build this over time. And I would argue, like anyone out there with an entrepreneurial mind, you just got to try. Put the effort in, start working on it, and it's not going to be perfect, but get out into the world before it's perfect, because you have to get that market feedback.
Yeah, find a problem, solve the problem, and you can monetize it.
Beautiful thing about innovation.
And I think there's a very important point over there, which is, like the main point was not to try to like do all the legal work, right? Because humans are already really good at that. So
there's no shortage of lawyers in the world, right? Yeah.
And also like the prep work gives humans back a lot of the time to actually do the judgment work. And I think that's also kind of the same philosophy that we also maintain, like in our industry, with when you're designing a ship. When you're doing 1 hour in the design process, you're spending almost 5 to 20 hours on the prep work, the research process. So instead of solving like the complicated parts, like, okay, we are going to use AI to solve the 3D generation of the models and stuff like that, which are much more complex problems. Instead, like 5 to 20 hours are going into the prep work and the research. Let's just solve that. So I think if for people starting out, like they don't need to solve the most complex problems, but the most challenging problems that people don't want to do. There's a lot of things people don't want to do and offload, and they would happily do that.
Yeah, I mean, like we talk a little bit about, if you step back a little bit on the conversation, we talk about talent, and now if you want to work in the tech sector, you don't have to have a tech background. I think it's the same thing happening with starting a new business, and you can start with no background, and one of the reasons is that you can use some platforms. There is a platform I've been playing a lot. It's called Lovable. It's basically a ChatGPT to build your app. And I've been a big fan of that. Some of the people know that. And you can try to develop a tool with zero background. You just tell him, this is how I want it to look like. and it builds it for you. So what's happening is that it's removing all, or at least it's decreasing significantly the technical background you need to get to create a new product. And I think what it means is that we're going to have more people like Josh who don't have necessarily initially a technical background to join in. So, but then the value is where? Like the value will be to understand your industry. So if you have an industry understanding and you see, I wish there will be a way to do that quicker, you can start using platform like this. And there are programs at Genesis. They have a Startups 101 that can help you guide for you, because most of the technical part, AI can do it for you.
This puts such value on an idea because, for example, I did a 6-year, and it's actually only a 4-year arts degree, but it took me 6 years. Now, I don't know Python, I can't code, but if I know an industry, and for what you're saying, there's an equalizing that is happening here for the entry point for someone like myself.
100%. And the other piece we heard, so the industry or knowledge is one piece, but we heard the relationships with people still matter, and like the need to recruit, to have a team that has a sales background, those skills matter and will continue to matter. So, often we heard like AI gonna, replace all of us, and I think it also highlights the need to continue to have like a human relationship and a sales team that can help connect those opportunities with AI with the right folks and right customers all over the world.
Josh Howard, any other thoughts just on we're still kind of back on your previous points, but just wondering if there's anything else to add.
Yeah, just would love to comment on the with the government funding that has been helpful, and we're at a place now where we could survive without it, but younger companies, like, it's a huge impact when your costs are low to get some of that funding to get off the ground. But you're talking like NRC and Shred, they're really heavily focused, and even IT heavily focused on technical hires. So I think there will need some policy changes at the funding level, which I understand it's not going to happen overnight. But if we need less technical people, and to build Newfoundland brands, we need more salespeople, more marketers, more onboarding. Like, I would love to see a shift in just the thinking there, because I know it's going to be harder for smaller and younger companies to get some of that much needed funding, because all of the policies are just so heavily slanted towards, frankly, engineering roles.
Oh, you just read my mind there, because I wanted to get into some of the existing hurdles or some of the suggested changes to help continue to grow the industry, to bring more people in, to really kind of build on what has been built. So that's excellent point there. What about for the folks here in the room? Just thoughts on what you'd like to see, if there's barriers there or something to build on from private investors, from the government, from whatever else for the local industry.
I think, to Josh's point, it's a much longer and tougher problem to solve on the engineering technical side. I still think we should do that. The absolute quickest win for people to transition and reskill is on like sales, marketing, and people management. And we've historically have almost underinvested or undervalued that, despite the fact these are great 6-figure plus jobs. They can be done
6-figure plus jobs. Yeah.
Easy.
Right.
Like, successful salespeople in tech easily can clear the 6-figure hurdle. Excellent high-paying jobs that can be done from here, right? And not just in St. John's. They can be done virtually anywhere as long as you have that strong internet connection. And like lots of opportunity, really easily rehirable. So I do think historically we've been almost undervaluing that. I would love to see both from the federal, but also the provincial level, and then right down to the association level, which I know has made the shift, but really investing in some of those skills that are also in very high demand in the tech sector.
There's a huge demand for B2B tech sales. There's just not a lot of them out there. And I think it's not about the technical skills, it's more about the technology vision, right? Because the skills will not be the bottleneck anymore. It'll be the direction, it'll be the vision, and it'll be the leadership to make that happen. So, which is where, again, it equips the salespeople as well. Like, we have been utilizing AI in so much of our sales process, and it makes research like so easy. It makes understanding and getting things the way you want, so that you can focus more on the judgment calls and just focus on the relationship building, and everything kind of happens around you. And I think that will be the future of sales. So, but it needs that human relationship building like practice. It needs that just vision because people get motivated by the vision that you give to them.
Yeah.
So that's important to nurture inside you.
Florian, we mentioned some of the training that's going on with techNL. What else are you folks working on? Before Christmas, we talked about procurement and the. So we're in this time of tariff threats and everything else going on, government procurement. There's a lot of money there. Just wondering a quick word on that, and then just let me know what else you're kind of pushing towards and looking at in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, so procurement, we have a number of companies that have technology that can help the governments to be more efficient, and while giving them credibility to those companies to scale outside the province. And if you come back to the story of Estonia, they are like a small place, great to test some ideas, and then you scale up and you get the credibility because you already have your first customer. So a lot of companies see opportunities to do that. So we have been chatting with the chief procurement officer on how to connect, the procurement offices in governments with local technologies. Like Spellbook is one solution that government could use and could really help. I'm sure they have a couple of contracts. And so that's one piece. So we released a report that shares some practical recommendations. I think we need an AI strategy, like across the board, in all services we do. Like we don't want to be on the back end of innovation. So think about education. We need to help kids to use AI like we did coding a few years back.
Well, as opposed to, because a lot of things I feel lately in the lead up to, this conversation, but in the last little bit, people are scared of it, right? Like there's fear of it, of the unknown, but then you're talking like, no, look at it, have a strategy, figure some stuff out because it's here.
Yeah, it's here, and it opens new ways. And I have my kids. We play with AI, and I help him to see how he can be creative with AI and what he can explore, how it can give him some ideas he didn't even think about. So it amplifies like adults. I think can amplify kids as well. And I think so. We need to have a strategy, and across government services, it can amplify all their services and give more insights, and therefore provide better services. I think we need to, of course, continue on the funding side. We heard from members to diversify the economy across to other markets. We have a changing relationship with US, let's say the least.
Yeah.
But we need to continue supporting companies exporting all over the world because that's going to make us stronger. So that's some of the things. And the other piece is some of the thing we look at is if we want to grow as an ecosystem, it's important that we also bring more expertise from outside. And I think considering helping companies to relocate some of their senior folks in the province like this, they can mentor local talents. So that's another piece. And I would say the last piece on the talents, there are tons of aspiring tech workers in the province, software developers at university. And we're going to continue to support them to connect with the industry, create opportunities for them to job. We have a mentorship program. We just selected like 25 of them to recent graduates to work in tech companies for a year. So we need to continue to create that channel because historically they are important talent for the province, and they also create companies.
Josh Howard on the line. Any final thoughts from you and around Vish or the conversation before I let you go? 30 seconds left.
Yeah, just thanks for having me on the call today. Would love to contribute more to the local tech community. If any small or younger companies ever need any advice on how to raise a seed round or hire any sort of thing that I can help, my email address is on my website, and happy to do anything we can to help out the local economy there.
I appreciate your time on this. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Nurul Ibrahim, founder and CEO of Atlantiq AI. Final thought.
I think we are headed in some really, really deep waters in this year, and technology is gonna take us to the moon. So I'm very bullish on it and biased about it, but I think it is going to be 10 times better than what I'm even thinking.
Chris Gardner, CSO, Spellbook. Final thought.
If you're considering a career in tech, just do it. Find your way into one of our companies. You won't regret it. It makes a fantastic career.
All right. Thank you for this today. I appreciated the chat. It's always nice to get industry insights from folks like yourself, so thank you so much. That is it for today's show, everyone. The signal at cbc.ca for emails if you want to get at us with your thoughts. The signal line, 709-576-5260 to leave us a message. Tomorrow on the show, how can our economy be efficient and sustainable? How one local program is helping entrepreneurs with their business ideas to reduce waste, improve efficiency, and make caring for the environment profitable. That's tomorrow. Don't miss the show. Thanks for listening. Bye.